with Keller Williams in Cherry Creek. I am a new-ish realtor. I've been in the business for about 3 years, a little bit more, and I'm here to give you some tips on what to do if you're just getting started in real estate. So, I think the first thing that you should do, one of the most important things that I did in my first year that helped me for the rest of the years, is start to create systems. And I say that a lot, and I get the question of, well, what do you mean? What is a system? So a system is something that you do all the time that's always the same when you're in a certain scenario. For instance, every time a seller calls me, I have a list of questions that I ask that seller. I mail them my seller's packet, and we'll get more into that a little bit later. But it's the same every time. And the reason that that's important is because it makes you more efficient. I know that every time that a seller calls me, these are the things that I do, and I have a little checklist, so I mark them off, and I know that these things have been done. And it's really important to do that also for liability reasons. You want to make sure that what you do for all of your clients is always the same, regardless of who the client is. Some samples of systems that I think it's important to put together immediately is a buyer's packet. So someone calls me and they're like, hey, Taylor, I heard your name from so-and-so. I'm interested in buying a house. Do you think you can help me out? And I think, yeah, obviously. Happy to help you out. What's your address? I'm going to mail you my buyer's packet. Inside my buyer's packet is a little bit of information about me and a lot of information about the buying process, Denver's market, and things that first-time home buyers or home buyers in general usually have questions on. I also have a buyer's checklist, and this goes from the moment I get the call to the day after closing. I have a checklist of everything that I do. And it starts with mail them the buyer's packet, right? It starts with send a thank you note after your first meeting. And then when you're searching for properties, these are the things that you look for. Once you're under contract, you send some flowers. You make sure that they drop off earnest money, that they know where to drop off earnest money. Everything is a little checkbox. And so I know as I go through the transaction with all of my different clients where everybody is. I know that I've done my job, and I know that they're getting the information from me that they need. Same thing for the seller's packet. Like I mentioned, when a seller calls me, I ask them some certain questions. Then I send them my seller's packet. I go and I meet them for our seller's presentation. I try to close while I'm there. And then, hopefully they sign with me, and then we're off. And then I have my seller's checklist that starts, again, right when they call, and it ends the day after closing with enter them into my CRM, update with their closing date, update with their new address so I can put them on email drip campaigns. It's all there so I know what to do. And it also is very teachable. So if you ever have an assistant, you can just say, hey, this is the checklist that you do for all the clients. And that way your level of business is really easy to share with someone else, and you just look good. It's also important to have a system for new lead follow-up. So every time I meet someone at an open house, for instance, I have that checklist of these are the things you do. I call them the next day. I input them into my CRM. I put them on a drip campaign. If I have their address, maybe I'll send them a thank you note. And then that goes, for the next 8 weeks, at least one contact per week. And so that's a great system to have. And the other really important system to have is your past client follow-up. You want to put all of these people on a campaign where you're talking to them or touching them at least 33 times a year is the metric that I try to use. And that includes phone calls, quarterly phone calls at least, a birthday card, a card to congratulate them on their home purchase anniversary. Maybe you use some type of services that send postcards out or calendars out, or I do Rockies schedules and Broncos schedules, that type of thing. You just want to stay in front of all of your past clients. This is an example of one of the pieces that I put into my buyers and sellers packets. It's a little resume about me. I had it printed online for pretty cheap, and it gives everybody a chance to meet me before we actually meet in person. This is a piece that I put into all of my buyers packets. It shows this is the process of buying a house. So if you ever are curious, where are we in the process, you just check this piece of paper. It tells you, we're after the offer, it's been accepted, we've done the earnest money, now it's inspection time. And so it answers a lot of those questions before people can come to me with those questions. This is a little screenshot of my seller's checklist. On here you can see all of the things I put in my seller's packet. You'll see some redundant things like my resume, that goes in everything. And then just down the line, you just check those boxes off as you go through. It's a really important system, and it just makes your life easy. So the next thing, moving along from systems, is education. One of the biggest hurdles when you're a new agent is, you're going to be going up against some more experienced agents probably when you're interviewing with buyers and especially interviewing with sellers. So how do you stand out when you're being compared to those people? And for me, it was becoming a market expert on the market that you want to work in. If you know all of the numbers, all of the data around, this neighborhood in Denver that you want to farm or that you want to work in, you can sit down with someone who lives in that neighborhood and say, hey, the average days on market for, this street is 10. I think that if we do these certain things, we can cut that in half. Or I know the principal of the elementary school over there, or anything to prove that you are the expert in this little area will definitely help you overcome agents with maybe a little bit more experience. There's a lot of opportunities for education. Your local board of realtors will probably put out some statistics that you should definitely read. If they don't, a title company will. The Colorado Association of Realtors puts out statistics. Always go through those. Know your numbers. It's really important. And do it as often as you can. I know as a newer agent, sometimes we have more free time than we don't. Fill that free time with educating yourself on all of the things that will help you be a better agent. And you can get those through lenders or through title companies, of course, through the Colorado Association of Realtors or your local board. I'm a member of the Denver Metro Association of Realtors, and they have stellar education all the time. The next thing to do is to build your team. And by that, I mean have a lender that you work with all the time that you know is good. Have at least 3 lenders, really. Have them on speed dial so that if you're meeting with someone and they're like, oh, well, I don't really know anything about the loan process, you can say, hey, I have, my favorite lender. They're local. They're good. They know this market. They answer my phone calls on Sundays if we get in a competitive offer situation and we really need their help to win it. It makes a big difference. You also want title companies. There's a lot of different title reps out there. They will probably call you and ask you out to lunch. Take those meetings. It's great to network with different title reps. Different companies offer you different things, and it's great to have a few of them in your back pocket. They'll help you if you want to get a list of addresses that you want to farm to, or phone numbers for a house, or for a neighborhood of houses around your open house that you want to call, something like that. Have a good team of people that you know work well with you, that you identify with. Maybe they're your same age, maybe not, but at least make sure that they're good so that when you refer, particularly lenders, when you refer your clients to them, they get the same level of service from that lender as they do from you. The reason you need 3 lenders is to be compliant. You never want to recommend just one lender, because if you recommend your client to one lender and they don't do such a great job, it really comes down on you. But if you recommend 3, let your clients pick whoever they like the most. The lending process is the most difficult piece of buying a home. It's definitely the most frustrating. If you like the person you're working with, it makes a big difference. This is a sample of the sheet that I give. This is actually in my buyer's packet. It says, hey, here are 3 different lenders. Reach out to them. Here's their phone numbers, their email addresses, and I always tell my clients, go with who you like the most. And they usually will choose one of my 3 people, and so I know, because they're using one of my 3 lenders, that that loan is going to get closed. We're not going to run into many issues, because I know and I trust these guys and I've worked with them before. The last recommendation I would give you is to attend your local board events. There's a lot of information and networking to be done, especially in this market where things are really competitive. If you know the agent on the other side, you're much more likely to get an offer accepted or to have a smoother transaction than you would otherwise. I am the chair of the Colorado Association of Realtors Young Professionals Network, and I came from the chair of the Denver Metro Association of Realtors Young Professionals Network. And through that, I met so many great new, young, and older realtors who have been in it for a while. And whenever I go up and I'm in a competitive offer situation, which we will be now and for a little while, if I don't know the person who's listing that house, I know someone who works at their company, and I can call them and say, hey, would you reach out to so-and-so and just put in a good word for me? It would make a really big big difference to my clients. And it has been the deal maker for me a couple of times. So go to your board events. There's great education and awesome networking. The people who go to those events are the people who treat this as a career, and they're the people who will have most of the listings. They're the people who you really want to be friends with. So that's my presentation on a couple of tips to focus on as you get started in real estate. I hope you do very well.